I chose the topic of Halloween in order to examine its spiritual origins. Okay, I chose Halloween as a topic because tomorrow is Halloween, but I needed a more highbrow excuse. While I intend to discuss the various spiritual roots of Halloween and how they can be reflected in our lives, let's agree that today, Halloween is entirely secular. Back as far as the 16th century, the northern countries of the British Isles practiced guising, or wearing costumes. The origin of guising is disputed. Some say the costumes were originally an imitation of the gods who were liberated during ʻsɑʊɪn. Others that the costumes were in recognition of the recent dead who returned to their lifetime homes. Over time, the meaning of the costumes were lost, and the range of costumes became much wider. Oddly enough, though, although pop-up Halloween stores make a good business of selling costumes, the majority of costumes are homemade. According to candy experts, how do I apply? Candy corn is the top-selling Halloween candy. The National Confectioners Association estimates that around 35 million pounds, over 15,000 metric tons, of candy corn are sold annually. As of 2016, annual production in the United States was 35 million pounds, or almost 9 billion pieces of candy. I think I ate about a third of them. The origin of asking for a treat was probably beggars who went door to door asking for a soul cake. This evolved to children asking for sweets. During guising, children going from house to house would put on small performances in return for food or treats. Over time, the performances became warnings of misfortune if they were not rewarded. Hence our modern tradition of trick-or-treating. Adults who want to share the fun of Halloween organize their own parties. They wear costumes to work and on their way to and from home. They indulge in masquerades where they can act both childishly and in very unchildish ways. This behavior draws only on the secular appearance of Halloween, with no reference to the historical meaning. Parties for children have been a part of Halloween for a long time, but they are changing their significance. In the past, children gathered for a party after trick-or-treating. The party was a chance to socialize, compare takes and make trades, and be available for parents to find in a safe location. When I was a kid, the principal at the elementary school would build a huge bonfire, and then we would go inside to watch cartoons in the auditorium. Today, as more and more parents feel required to accompany their children even on the safest trick-or-treating routes, the whole process of trick-or-treating is being replaced by Halloween parties that provide stock supplies of candy, contests for the best and the most imaginative costumes, and other parent-led activities. The primary goal is to make Halloween safe. So let's talk about origins. Halloween is entirely Christian. It arises from All Saints' Day, which celebrates Christian saints. When Western Christianity separated from the Eastern or Orthodox Christians, the date and rituals of All Saints' Day differed. And when the Protestants separated from the Catholics, the Protestants did away with ceremonies such as All Saints' Day. In effect, Halloween is a Catholic celebration. What we will find as we pursue the origins of Halloween is that its evolution and celebration took place almost entirely in the British Isles. There's a bit of activity in France, but then France was under English control at the time. And the various waves of immigrants from the British Isles brought Halloween to the Americas. Most studies blame the Irish, but then the Irish are blamed for everything. Initially, the date of All Hallows' Eve was set in the 7th century when Pope Boniface consecrated the Pantheon on May 13. He obviously made a mistake. My birthday is May 12. In the following century, Pope Gregory III dedicated a chapel in St. Peter's Basilica on November 1 and changed the date of All Souls' Day to match. Pope Gregory IV made it universal for the entire church. Apparently, how you spent the vigil of All Saints depended on where you lived in Christendom. In Brittany, the night was solemn and without a trace of merriment. It was in Ireland, Scotland, and England that All Hallows' Eve became a combination of prayer and merriment. The evening before All Saints' Day became a holy or hallowed eve, and thus Halloween. Along with other festivities, the celebration of Halloween was largely forbidden among the early American colonists, such as the Puritans, although in the 1800s there developed festivals that marked the harvest and incorporated elements of Halloween. When large numbers of immigrants, including the Irish, went to the United States beginning in the mid-19th century, they took their Halloween customs with them. And in the 20th century, Halloween became one of the principal U.S. holidays, particularly among children. There's a tradition that Halloween is a merger of Christian and non-Christian practices. In the academic community, this is generally rejected. However, let's ignore the academics. Samhain is believed to have Celtic or Celtic pagan origins, particularly in Ireland. It was one of 4 celebrations that divide the year. Samhain represented the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter. Over time, it added honors for Celtic demigods and mythic figures. This gave Samhain a similarity to Christian celebrations for saints. Note that the conflation of Samhain and All Hallows' Eve began in the 7th and 8th centuries, as the popes of the Christian Church made All Saints' Day a universal celebration, and the Celts began to assimilate the Christian traditions. There is no contemporary evidence that the popes had any intention to suppress the non-Christian celebrations such as Samhain by choosing the same date. It's doubtful that knowledge of Samhain had reached Rome. Nor did the confluence of dates have any immediate effect on either celebration. I need to somehow make this a sermon with some sort of consequence for us as UUs. It's pretty obvious that the modern practice of Halloween offers us nothing. But what about Samhain and the original Christian celebrations? If we look at our 7, now 8 principles, we don't find much that is directly applicable. But in the living traditions, our sources, we find spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Samhain, as one of the 4 annual celebrations that define the Celtic year, is part of the sacred circle of life. We are guided around the circle, from birth to death and again to birth. The Celts believed that, at death, one became alive as another person. Whatever we believe about death and its aftermath is a personal choice. Our death affects the society only as part of the circle. But the circle of life is more directly embodied in the honoring of ancestors and cultural representatives, whether Christian saints or Celtic forebears. We are called upon to recognize that our ancestors are part of the circle. Just as we honor them, our descendants will keep us in their circle. Ultimately, by participating in the circle of life, we are accepting our part in a community. And implicitly, we are accepting our obligation to behave well towards the community. In other words, what we find in Halloween is the same basis we find in our principles. Love one another.
If you enjoyed this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video.